board on the 24th. Once we receive adoption approval from both boards, we'll submit to EOHLC. A brief discussion of the two different documents. We have an executive summary, which is a standalone document meant for educational purposes for both residents and committees. That takes up about 15 pages. The full plan is more of a reference guide, which is what is submitted to EOHLC. It takes up 84 pages plus appendices. So how does Tyngsborough use the HP loop? Think of it as a roadmap of strategies on which to start the public process of study and implementation to address housing needs. It also serves as advertising to developers on what Tyngsborough wants to see in terms of housing. It helps prioritize town activities. It's a guide for considering what to ask for in friendly 40Bs. You can also use it for grant applications, and a guide for considering housing, affordable housing trust in the CPA. So we'll take a look at the needs assessment findings as well as the goals. So the first finding is that housing prices are rising much faster than median incomes, as you can see from the graph. The second finding is that there is a need for homes to serve the 400 households that are severely cost-burdened households, most of them extremely low income. That's about 10% of Tyngsborough's total households. Finding number 3, there is a need for homes that are attainable for young people to establish new households. What we found is that the population between 15 and 34 years old increased by 7% between 2000 and 2020. The number of households headed by people that age decreased by 40% in that same time. So this indicates that fewer young people can afford to move from their parents into homes of their own in Tyngsborough than they were 10 years ago. Finding number 4, there's a need for homes that are affordable to the town's workforce, which is largely at or below 80% area median income. So this chart shows a lot of typical salaried employees. For example, 2 retirees with the Massachusetts average Social Security would land at 35% AMI. The average Tyngsborough teacher salary lands at 77% AMI. Finding number 5, although the number of duplexes and multifamily units have increased, there is a need for additional housing choice, including smaller and more accessible units. These quotes you see here are ones taken directly from surveys, which we distributed out at events such as the Tyngsborough Block Party. Finding number 6, there is a need for support for the most vulnerable, including those at risk of eviction. Tyngsborough saw a rate of 54.01 eviction filings per 1,000 renters, the highest in the NIMCOG region between April and September 2024. This is the 3rd highest rate in the state. In addition, Tyngsborough has a smaller proportion of rental housing stock compared to Greater Lowell and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Finding number 7, housing development can and should advance the town's master plan goals. Smart housing production can advance the following master plan goals in addition to housing affordability goals. This includes climate change resiliency, protection of natural resources, interconnected network of bicycle and pedestrian facilities, and economic development. So with that background established, we'll move on to the housing strategies that NIMCOG recommends that town of Tyngsborough prioritize when it comes to implementing goals of the Tyngsborough Housing Production Plan. So we've come up with 8 goals for the housing production plan itself, and we've come up with 4 categories of priority strategies. We'll start with the zoning strategies. The first is to amend the zoning bylaw to allow in multifamily housing as of right or by special permit in the Industrial 1 Light District, paying attention to conflicts with neighboring land uses, identifying zoning amendments in key locations to allow the production of single-family attached units, duplexes, triplexes, quadruplexes, and apartments, and to update the zoning bylaw to comply with the 2024 amendments to MGL C40A, the zoning act of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, which allows accessory dwelling units in single-family zoning districts by right. These three goals advance goals numbers 2, 3, 4, and 7. They're largely related to fostering housing, fostering development of other forms of housing besides single family. The next category, policy and enforcement. Sorry, just making sure I didn't skip. Yeah. Under policy and investment, maintaining the subsidized housing inventory list, keeping records of regulatory agreements, deed restrictions, home and rental prices, and other unit data, which advances goal 1 to maintain and produce 23 subsidized housing units annually, and to promote and incentivize the development of ADA and universally accessible housing units, which is goal number 6. And for new plans and studies, we recommend encouraging the development of multifamily housing at the Northwest Middlesex Road and Pheasant Lane Mall parking area sub-district overlays. This would advance goals 1, 2, 3, and 7. And finally, public outreach, education, and board development. We recommend coordinating planning efforts for multiple committees through annual all-committee meetings to build shared goals, which would advance all goals, and provide information about regional and community-based services to people at risk of or experiencing housing instability, including foreclosure, eviction, and legal assistance. And that would advance goals numbers 5 and 8. Any questions or comments?
Gentlemen, I just want to say thank you to the NEMCOG team for producing this. This is very helpful. I think, you know, as a town in Massachusetts, I think we're all dealing with very similar situations with diversity in housing, you know, the ability to afford a home. I was fortunate enough to buy my home in Tyngsborough in 2010. I don't think I would have been able to come and live in this town today if that was the case. I know I wouldn't have. We're all dealing with lack of housing in the state. We're competing with New Hampshire. We're right on the border here. We want to be able to keep the youth coming into our town, young families, and we also want to be able to maintain affordability for seniors that are retired and living here off of a Social Security paycheck. I think this is a good layout of what everybody else is dealing with, but I just want to say thank you to the NEMCOG team for producing this. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for, Dave Robson. Thank you for putting this in front of us tonight. I'll just say that it seems more like we're being forced into becoming a city than a town, and we're going to lose our charm. I sit and look at one of your main developments here, the Northwest Middlesex Road, which is a complete disaster already. And for us to be thinking about adding houses in there with this, I think it's a big mistake for safety reasons, not to mention our schools, our fire, police. We're understaffed everywhere right now, and this definitely wouldn't help the town of Tyngsborough residents. That's all I have to say.
Jazz?
Yeah, I echo Jeremy's comments of thank you for putting this together. Some of these things, that the goals that are on here are already in place, and certainly we're working towards getting some of the other ones in place as well. So I'd be interested in seeing the full 84-page document, but I guess we have to vote on this presentation tonight. Is that right?
I don't.
So thank you.
Mike?
I have no comments, just appreciate your efforts in putting this together.
So I guess we're looking for a vote tonight on this? Okay. I guess looking for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the NEMCOG Housing Production Plan for Tyngsborough, dated March 24th, 2025.
Second?
Second?
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Aye. 2. All right, thank you for your work. Look forward to working with you, see what we can come up with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just curious if that needed a supermajority or?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
Thank you,
Okay.
Isabel.
Okay, site plan moving on, we're going to site plan modification discussions, 93 Kendall Road, continued from 3/20/25. Gentlemen,
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Happy to be back.
hang on.
This evening, I have brought Dave Fulton, who's one of the principals of SDG Development, the actual developers on the site. Dave Williams was here last time, but in the original permitting process, Dave Fulton was also very involved as time went on, so his face may look familiar. So we opened up the discussions about trying to change the phasing in terms of the construction of the buildings to start with Lot 2 instead of Lot 1. Effectively, we're going to embark on development of the entire site because there are reasons for that, which Dave will get into. So it really is sort of a combined development, but we still want to do the second building first. So 2 asks that we left here with is you wanted a more detailed construction schedule, which we have given you, and I think it's pretty detailed. So Dave is going to go over that in a minute. And then I told you we would also investigate this notion of posting a bond for the tree clearing. So we have looked into that. The reality is that a lot of the Lot 1 area is not mature trees right now. The perimeter of Lot 1's area has some mature trees, so it's not as extensive as it might appear on its face for mature tree clear cutting. There's a lot of low-level brush and things of that nature. As you know, the site used to be used for a mining operation at one point. But nonetheless, there's still greenery that we're looking to take down. So what we're prepared to propose to the board is to post a $100,000 bond, which I think is high, but they're willing to do that for purposes of reestablishing, tree plantings and green space to support the tree cutting as we move forward. So if you look back at the original decision, we had broached both of these subjects originally, and I think the developer was concerned at the time that if economic conditions changed over time, that there would be a need to, I think originally what they were thinking was do one building and not the other, and then, but it would alter the construction of the site. So that was actually addressed. It was one of the special conditions that was in the original approval, if you look. I think it was condition 12. And we also talked about the tree cutting and having the ability to come back here and present a bond to you. And that's also one of the conditions in the original approval. So now we're just getting specific on what that bond would look like. So we're excited to move forward. We actually have to move forward very quickly. The president's tariffs, which are set to go into effect, have some sweeping impacts on our vendor contracts. So we need to lock up certain contracts on supplies now, or else we're going to lose that ability to do that. We have a general contractor ready to go, under contract, I believe.
Yep.
To start within like a week or so.
14th.
Yep. And
What was that date?
The 14th, April 14th. Yep.
to continue on with the site work for not only the road installation, but also site development for both lots. What you're going to hear from Dave is that It's necessary for us to excavate Lot 1 because we're going to be using those materials, and they're necessary materials to finish the road and to use those materials as part of Lot 2. There's also apparently a lot of ledge on Lot 1 that is going to take a fairly lengthy period of time to bring that down to grade, which I think Dave's going to talk about as well. So I think the development of Lot 1 anyways is on a longer timeline than what we're looking at for Lot 2. And the market conditions nationwide in terms of renting out these spaces, these large warehouse spaces, it has become very apparent in the current economic climate that we are going to have a much easier time leasing out the building on Lot 2 than we are on Lot 1 at this particular time. So, you know, for that reason, that's another reason why we want to move forward, and we're willing to build it on spec. So, and that's the plan right now. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Dave to just kind of dive into the details a little bit more about what's going on over there and solicit some additional input from the board.
So big picture for us, as we've analyzed this, we have, went out to bid with multiple general contractors, and we really tuned up the whole analysis of both sites, cubic yards of material that have to be moved. Our big question was, which building can we get to market the fastest? So it came down to Lot 2, the smaller building, 125,000 square foot building, we can get to market in a year. So about a year from now, we can get our C of O. If we were to pursue Lot 1, it would be about 2.5 years, maybe. It could be longer. The issue is that Lot 1 has a significant amount of material that we have to, he mentioned, blasting. We have ledge to remove, crush, et cetera. And we have to flip soils from Lot 1 direct to Lot 2. And you want to move them direct, place them, compact them. Don't touch them more than once, right? Lot 2, I don't know if you guys have seen the site, but Lot 2 has a big crater. It's 33 feet deep. That's the big mining spot where, I think it was Modern Continental at the time when they built Route 3. That's where majority of the materials for the base of Route 3 came from. So we're gonna mine from Lot 1 to fill Lot 2. And our GC and site subs, they believe that they can get that building ready so we can start construction and have a roof on that building by end of November. So that's quick. But for us, the key is then all the MEPs can be finished interior through the winter, and we can get to market in a year from now. And then at the same time as that's being built, Lot 1 will still be, there'll still be ongoing site work on Lot 1, taking that down to grade, for the Lot 1 building. Filling the road, there's a series of retaining walls all the way from the front of Lot 2 that run along the front of the subdivision road, I'll call it, the internal driveway road. Retaining walls that go in, fill from Lot 1 that will go in there to fill for the road itself as the Lot 2 building's being built. And then a year or so from now, the Lot 1 site will be pad elevation ready. And our plan is to go right from Lot 2, April, May of next year, start construction on Lot 1. So it's really the key to us is getting to market as fast as possible. And then tenant-wise, what happens in our business, when you have the walls start going up and the roof going on, we'll have tenants looking, but they will commit once they know a definitive move-in date, and it really takes the walls going up and the roofs go on until that happens. If they see dirt moving around and maybe foundations in place, there's not a definitive timeline. So that's really where we expect to have interest from multiple parties, but then they'll make commitments when they know delivery date is March of next year.
The other issue too is it's just cost prohibitive to demobilize. So
Yeah.
they want to continue on with this entire project as a singular site and push it forward. So They don't wanna just do Lot 2 and then demobilize and then come back someday for Lot 1. They wanna just push forward.
Yeah, we'd have to demo the site guy, the general contractor, you know, everybody, set up other safety, security, all of that, so. Yeah, our plan is to build Lot 2 and then move right into Lot 1.
And as we know, and I know that, you know, there's a lot of financial benefits to the town, obviously, that are coming with this, that are triggered with a building permit. So, we don't wanna delay that either for the town. There's improvements to and financial benefits to the highway department and the town and other issues. I think Colin had sent out a memo on those points today, just to refresh everybody's memory that this is a public-private partnership amongst Tyngsborough, the private developer, and the state, with the Park and Ride plus the Mass Save grant that we got.
Yep. And I should note, so the Park and Ride, the plan is also, as we start our work on our site, to start the Park and Ride work as well, and then finish out with the Kendall Road work that'll be finished out. So, Park and Ride work, the beginning of our subdivision road, which you guys all know is cut in between Park and Ride and DPW. Finish out the beginning of the Commerce Drive, our subdivision road. Make all those connections between DPW, Park and Ride, New Commerce Drive, and then Park and Ride rebuild, and including closing down one of their entrances and actually making it so that actually works, because the buses can't even circulate around the island like they're supposed to. So all of that work will be done, we're targeting by end of June for all of that work.
So the Park and Ride will be done by the end of June?
That is our goal, yes, yep. Yep.
So we're not looking to sit on things, you know, we wanna get this done, but we need to change the order a little bit.
Okay. You all set?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I just want to say that this is something that I believe everybody wants to move forward. This is only a benefit to the town. I think the town manager laid it out pretty well in his letter, stating quite a few things that to be aware of. You know, one being the mass grant that we have for unlocking the site. Another being just several other benefits that the town is relying on because of this development. So yeah, I appreciate the history lesson of, you know, Lot 2. I wasn't aware of the whole modern continental item there and the depth of that infill. And, you know, I think you guys have laid out a pretty clear path about why you're doing this. You know, ideally, yeah, we would love the bigger building to be built first. But with everything taken into account, I'm, you know, in the $100,000 bond, I'm in favor of moving this forward as you plan. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Dave?
Couple things. Roadway in is gonna be done, right, as we discussed last meetings prior, that'll be done, like you're saying.
Commerce Drive from Kendall
Yeah.
past DPW.
And you're saying
Yes.
Site 1 work is gonna basically start as soon, because,
Site 1
I'm in
work
construction, I get it, you don't wanna
Starts
move stuff
immediately,
around.
yep.
Okay,
And then that Lot 1 work will be ongoing for probably a year
sure,
as Lot 2 is being built.
yep,
So the entire site will be under construction essentially.
okay.
Yep.
Perfect,
Yeah.
thank you.
The key is the length of time it's gonna needs to bring it down to grade.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at your time chart, and I'm like, whew, he's gonna have some people working over there.
Yeah.
You better stay on site.
It's gonna be busy,
So,
yeah.
just to clarify, from Kendall Road back to the, I guess, private way, that will be completed when? Prior to the, yeah,
So from Kendall Road to, call it the cul-de-sac,
correct,
and
That's what I
really
thought.
past the DPW,
correct.
because we want to be able to connect DPW and Park and Ride.
Okay.
So the plan is to jump on that immediately as well, and Park and Ride simultaneously. And Newport is coming back, they're doing Kendall Road work, so they're coming back. We're all coordinating to try to be done by the end of June with
Okay,
that work.
the cul-de-sac part and the
Yes.
road, that'll be,
Yep,
and the
yep.
construction will be beyond that.
Ongoing.
So
Beyond
you're
that,
not
yeah.
gonna drag the Kendall Road, I guess, cul-de-sac out for the whole year?
No.
No,
Okay.
no, no,
Okay,
no,
just
no.
wanna clarify.
Yeah.
All right, Chaz?
Yeah, so you were originally gonna complete Lot 1 and then do Lot 2. If you had completed Lot 1, where would you get the fill for Lot 2?
We would have had to move material over to Lot 2, right? Fill Lot 2, and/or stockpile as well. But there's also excess material that needs to come off Lot 1. So it's not just an even swap, cut and fill. So there's additional excess material, but there's also the complexity of ledge to be removed. And that also has to be crushed on site to be able to use on site, most of it, hopefully, and then ship off site. So it's,
I get that piece of it, Dave. My question is, originally, my understanding was that Lot 1 was gonna be done, completed as Phase 1.
that was the original
And
intent.
then you were gonna do Phase 2, Lot 2.
Yep.
So if Phase 1 was done, there was never any talk about stockpiling stuff for Lot 2. That's why I'm asking why now is that,
Well, there was, on the original plans, there was a stockpile area just adjacent to the Lot 1 building.
okay,
And the reality is, there'd be way too much material, in excess material on Lot 1 that wasn't used on Lot 2, and it would have been more than that stockpile area would have handled, so.
We
there's
also had
just-
the-
There's just, the reality is, there is just a lot more work on Lot 1, timeline-wise, right, than we originally anticipated.
okay. When Dave Williams was here last meeting,
Yep.
meeting before at any rate, I asked him about the sewer, and he said that the sewer was private and that you were gonna own that.
Yep.
But yet that's, the sewer piece of it is whole project across the street on Kendall Road. So can you help me understand how that is gonna work?
So, as far as our timeline on sewer, from Middlesex to the rear right corner of Lot 1, so the end of the DeCarlo property,
Yep,
we're gonna be putting in the utilities in that corridor. And then, right now, the sewer line for the Lot 2 building runs behind the Lot 1 building. So, as of right now, that's the plan, to be able to run that sewer line. The sewer segment from DeCarlo property to the cul-de-sac, we're gonna be putting that in when we do, the tail end of when we do the Lot 1 building, which is normal construction sequencing.
so you were gonna bring the sewer out at least to the DPW, is my understanding.
Well, right now, it's in, and it runs past the DPW, from Kendall.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're gonna tie into that at what point in this construction phase?
So it's, after we start the construction on Lot 1, we have to get Lot 1 down to grade, right? And then we really have to get the foundations in Lot 1, and then the building up, and then you put your utility corridor goes in after that. So from DeCarlo property to, say, the cul-de-sac, utilities run right now to the end of the cul-de-sac from Kendall Road. So call it a year and a half from now, if I were to guess, to 2 years from now.
So is there any way you could speed that up?
So just so you know, I am in constant discussions with assisted living developers.
Okay.
We are doing everything we can, and our intent is to work with them, just so you know.
Okay, because that's ultimately what I wanna,
Yeah,
I wanna see these things kind of go.
yes, yes.
Yeah, it's a
We-
puzzle, we all do, the
Yeah.
town does.
And
We
we,
know that.
we agree,
Okay,
we do too.
all right,
yes.
I just wanted to make sure that
Oh, yeah,
that was
absolutely.
being addressed and not something that was sort of
Oh, yeah,
off.
If
in
you
the
also,
corner.
you recall, the original approval too had the caveat that we didn't even have to do Lot 2. It was do Lot 1 and we can abandon Lot 2 as a matter of right now. So now the fact that this basically is gonna pretty much, predicate the fact that it's gonna be both buildings. So, I mean, that's a win.
It's- I
To
mean,
me, it
that's a-
actually seems like it's speeding up,
Yeah,
in reality,
in reality, yes.
even though it's reverse.
because it's gonna force the site work of the entire site.
Yep. Correct.
So, and
Well,
we're
and-
hoping somebody comes along as we get that down to grade and, we can
Yep.
speed up on a need base too,
Yeah, and you brought up actually a good point, where this way, we're handling materials on site just one time. If you take 100,000 yards of material and you have to handle that twice, that is a lot more work and more expensive. The other thing is from a market perspective, we originally designed these, everybody, when we came into you, first talked with you guys about this project, everybody out in our industry was designing to Amazon. And thank God we said, let's take a different approach and not do that. And let's go after kind of the bread and butter industrial market, and that is buildings that can be cut up to, 50,000 square feet or so, 50 to 100,000. So right now, there's a need for that. There's a facility up in Merrimack, north of us. It's a 350,000 square foot box
Empty.
because it can't be really subdivided. Yeah, so these can be subdivided, and there's a market right now. Our brokers did a whole study, and there is a market for this. That's why we want to get to market as quick as possible. And this is how, really the only way we can do it.
Plus the strategic location with the highway exits right there.
Yeah.
It's an attractive piece.
Yep.
So do you see the possibility of Lot 1 being subdivided into 2 buildings, or is that gonna remain one building that you would subdivide inside, or?
We would ideally just subdivide inside, yeah. These are designed 250-foot depths, so you can put a demising wall in between from front to back. So, yeah, most likely that's what we would do.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, I don't have any more questions. Thank you.
Just for myself, I know it's Phase 1, is that Lot 2 or Lot 1, where the old Phase 1 was? Which one is Lot 1?
So Lot 1 is the larger building,
Okay.
Lot
so-
2 is the smaller.
So when you.
So we should just call it, we're gonna build Lot 2 first.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine, but
It's
would-
easier.
just
Yeah.
for clarification, I think you said earlier, when you were leveling Lot 1, you were gonna be putting in a foundation also? And a,
In Lot
and a
1?
pad? Yeah.
Eventually,
No,
we're
For
gonna
the
bring it
sewer,
down.
for the storage is,
We're gonna get Lot 1 pad ready.
that's what I thought you
Yes,
said
yeah.
originally, but
Yep.
when you were just talking, I thought you said Lot 1. And just for my own head, you said you, and it might be prior to the storage coming in?
Yes.
To Chaz's
Yeah.
question, you have to have the foundation in on Lot 1?
Yeah, so the
Prior.
construction, ideally, you put the foundation in first, right?
Okay.
Because you get all the heavy equipment, trucks and all that working over it.
Okay.
And then you put your utility quarters in after. They usually follow your core building going up, and then you put your utilities in after that. That's typical construction.
No, I
sequencing.
get it, but I just was getting confused
Yeah.
which lot you were talking about, or whether it just had to do
Yeah,
with
that's
the
why
storage.
I say we just start calling these Lot 1 and 2 and forget the phasing.
Yeah.
Because it's easier to refer to them as,
Either lot.
yeah, as the lot.
Okay,
Just, what do you anticipate the completion of the whole project to be?
So if we go per the schedule, we'd be delivering the Lot 1 building in roughly October of 2026.
all right, so you guys are looking for first minor major,
Yes,
correct? I don't believe we got there yet.
correct.
And then a vote to
Modify
to
the special permit
modify the
allow
special permit.
change
Do you-
phasing.
And Counsel, let me ask you, for the modification, we don't have it written up yet. Would you work with that?
I can draft it.
And then,
Give it to Pam.
can you work with our attorney, counsel, to get that before we finalize it? They can, the attorney, pending whatever the attorney feels he has to put in there with you.
Yeah, I would ask for a vote on the substance of the approval, subject to the
That's-
board
that's
approving the
ex-
final decision, final written decision.
That's exactly what I was getting to.
Sure.
As long as you work with our attorney to write it up
Not a
instead
problem.
of you're right, Nick, giving it to Pam, us looking
I wrote
at
the
it.
initial decision, so I'm happy to write the
Okay.
modification.
And if he feels whatever he has to do, you work with him.
Sure.
All right. Board satisfied with that?
Chaz, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. So
I'm looking for,
I'll make a motion to approve a minor modification for 93 Kendall Road.
do I have a second? For,
Do we have to also do anything with the bond?
no,
just
right?
That'll all
Yeah,
be in the-
that'll
that's
come in
next
the
vote.
This is just whether it's major or minor.
Yep.
Second.
Okay, you want a roll call? Or not for the, you don't need a roll call, right? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. 4-0 goes to Pam, right? No, I don't believe, Mike, you
Yeah,
can
he
vote
can.
on it.
He can.
You were at the other meetings?
I was not at the previous
Yeah,
320.
all right, well, 4-0, we'll go with that.
Looking forward to good communication.
Absolutely.
Which we've had so far, so.
Yep.
Let's keep up the good
Yes.
work there, and
Yep. No, it's been great.
Good luck.
Working in Tyngsborough, it has,
good.
yeah.
I think they're looking for one more vote before they get that,
Oh.
right?
No, yeah.
And as far as the bond, I don't believe we discussed, I said you said $100,000.
$100,000 bond for the tree clearing.
In any particular way you want to see it structured, we'll have the attorney, anything
let's
you
let
want in
the-
that.
yeah.
We'll let the attorney handle the,
The approval, of
gal-
the bond- the approval of the form of the bond.
correct, prior to being 100,
Yes.
prior to going. All right, can I have a motion then?
So it would be a motion to continue, to,
Modify the special permit to allow a change in phasing.
okay, yeah.
For
what we
phase
said.
2 to go first and then phase 1.
And to include the 100,000.
With the
Dollar
bond.
bond to be reviewed by town council prior to being
So it's a-
approved. Is that correct,
Yes.
Counselor?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, you need a roll call, huh? All those in favor? What do you need? Roll call?
Sure. Jeremy
Roll call.
Baldwin,
In favor.
Steve O'Neill,
In favor?
Dave Robson,
In favor.
Chaz Dunn.
In favor.
Really appreciate your time and
Thank you.
working
Thank
with
you.
us on it.
Good luck,
It'll be a good
guys.
Project for the town.
Appreciate it.
Good luck.
Okay, great.
I didn't know that was an old mine.
Yeah. Knew he wasn't gonna, he just got to town.
I didn't know. Is that just for Route 3?
Pretty much, I mean, but you know, they sell everywhere, anywhere they can as they're making material.
Dash?
Okay, next up. 50 Westford Road, continued from 3/20/25.
Long time no see. Pete Nicosia on behalf of the applicant, and I have Dash Tony from MBL Land Surveyors with us. If you recall, as we got into the site work, several issues that we felt we needed to modify the project on certain issues. We had an initial discussion with the board. David has initially reviewed everything. Ben has reviewed everything. And since that time, the intelligent folks have gotten together and worked very cooperatively to, I think, work through the majority, if not all of the issues. So hopefully we can move in the direction of a modification, but I'll let Dash talk about that and David talk about whatever's remaining. And we are scheduled now to make an appearance in front of the Concom on Tuesday, just to make sure that, you know, the stormwater management permit is, you know, unaffected or only affected in a minor way. So we're gonna have the Concom have their input on this in the, you know, final analysis as well. So Emily was kind enough to get us on the agenda for Tuesday so that we could try to move that forward as well. And she's been monitoring David's, you know, peer review, and, you know, we're trying to march in lockstep so that the boards aren't, you know, repeating each other's tasks. So with that said, I'll turn it over to Dash and David.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. The PowerPoint really hasn't changed much. We can quickly run through it again. The board's, I believe, familiar with the project at this point. As Peter mentioned, we've been working with Dave to address all of his comments in the drainage report review and to ensure that we're meeting the concerns of the board and the concerns of David. Honestly, unless any members of the board would like a refresher on the tasks we discussed last time, I'm happy to just jump to the end to talk about the peer review comments specifically that David raised previous, which
That's fine.
okay. Pam, if you wouldn't mind going to the last sheet, please, of the PowerPoint, thank you. So we prepared revised plans in the drainage report and submitted that March 26th, excuse me. And the modifications and the revisions that we made to these plans were based off of David's peer review letter, which we went through in detail, made sure to address all of his comments. There were no additional significant changes to the proposed design, but we did make sure to go through every item that David had and address it as needed. Some of the key items that were brought up last time that I can touch on and we can go through in more detail if needed. There we go, sorry. The drainage systems that were in proximity to the 3-to-1 slopes in the retaining wall, we've made steps to prevent any potential issues from that by providing an impervious barrier between the system and the slope/walls. I was also out there on March 19th to do test pits, which David was there to witness the first few, and he was satisfied, to my knowledge. We saw soils that were pretty consistent with the previous site conditions. We did make adjustments to the stormwater systems based on the additional test pits in the groundwater. Nothing too very comprehensive, but I think at this point, we're confident, and David, you can speak to your confidence, but I believe based on the review, we now don't foresee any issues arising from the groundwater that could come down the line in the during construction. We also made sure to address his comments related to the under drain groundwater seep system below the proposed stormwater system F. In that system, we did perform test pits under, and we revised our design of that system accordingly based on the final test pits. Another comment that we made was to provide the additional calculations for that system to make sure that it's handling all the treatment that it needs to for the water quality storm. So that's really the bulk of the changes that we made. And again, I'm happy to go through anything in specific detail. We can run through the original letter if you would like that we provided our responses to, or Dave, if you have any specific items you want to touch on. But of the review items from the review letter that we received this afternoon, there were very minor things that came up that we are hoping to address just as conditions of approval. Those items being the 2-to-1 slopes are adjacent to the retaining wall. We can provide more detail, which David pointed out, as far as maintenance and making sure that it's installed correctly. He wanted us to provide a letter from the wall manufacturer to ensure that the adjacent systems wouldn't impact the wall design, which we're more than happy to work with the wall manufacturer on. We had discussions with them over the phone, but we just can get something in writing, so that's on the record. Another item that was brought up was to provide seepage collars underneath the stormwater system F related to the groundwater seep system, which we're more than happy to provide as just an amended detail. And then the calculations for that water quality storm, we can include that in, for the record, it was, I made a mistake and I forgot to include it in our final submission. But honestly, that pretty much encompasses all of the changes that we made, and we're hopeful that the board finds that we've addressed everything to their satisfaction, to David's satisfaction, and we're happy to turn it over to any members that may have any follow-up questions and go through stuff in more detail if needed.
All right, well, I guess start it off for you, Dave, and let's go one by one. You see on your letter and
Yeah,
go
so
from there.
I can do a brief overview. So we met with the applicant, the town, myself, and the applicant all met over Zoom to kind of discuss the initial letter, all the comments that were discussed at the last meeting. The majority of them having to do with the stormwater infiltration systems and specifically how close they were to groundwater and to slopes with the potential for breakout on the slopes, et cetera. We talked through each issue, and they, talked through potential fixes. And so then that was kind of the end of that meeting. On, I believe you said the 19th, I met out on site while they were doing follow-up test pits in the proposed infiltration footprints to confirm groundwater levels and additional kind of areas that were kind of missing in the initial. Everything I saw out there is consistent with what I saw in the submitted documents. Trying to think from there, what they seem to have done is to address my concern with breakout on the slopes, having infiltration too close to the slopes. They've included an impermeable barrier that goes right alongside that infiltration system. And while this isn't ideal, it still addresses my concerns with any sort of breakout. Essentially, with them stamping this plan set, it says that they certify that this system will work, and the impermeable barrier will prevent water from seeping out laterally until the bottom of that system. The impermeable barrier I believe, is to be installed at least to the bottom, if not below the bottom of the toe of the slope or the bottom of the system, depending on which system we're talking about. I'm trying to think. The additional comments that I have left, I know Dash had touched on them, but the 2-to-1 slopes above, I believe it's retaining wall 2, that was one thing that I had I just wanted more clarification on. It's a 2-to-1 slope above, I believe, a 10-foot retaining wall. I wasn't sure how they were going to mow it, because, they currently have it planted. Either, I wasn't sure if it was going to be mowed or if they were going to do a no-mow grass seed of sorts, just kind of like, thinking through what's the operation and maintenance going to be if you are to maintain that 2-to-1 slope, what's it going to look like?
That's number one here,
Yes, yep.
So you're still concerned with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Skipping ahead, because comment address 2 through 4 to comment 5.
Can we just, would you say 2 you're all set with, if we do them one by one?
Yes, yep.
Number 2 is good?
Comment address 3 is good.
Is all set?
4 is okay, yeah, is good.
Is all set. Now you have concerns with 5 still,
Yep.
correct?
So 5, this was just the comment that was made before regarding infiltration system in close proximity to behind a retaining wall. I just wanted the manufacturer or the designer of the wall to certify that they were, one, aware that infiltration system was going in behind their designed wall, and that they were taken into account, especially because that wall is on top of another slope. So I just wanted to make sure that they're all right with potential for migration or infiltration behind the wall and then potentially underneath the wall. So that's statement 5.
Yep. 6?
6 I was good with.
You good with 6?
Actually, 6 all the way through to 22, so you can just cross off.
7 you good, 8,
Yep.
9,
Yep.
10, 12. To 21?
21 was okay, 22 is the one.
Okay, 22.
So
There you go.
22, this had to do with the proposed groundwater seep collection system that spanned between the decommissioned wetlands underneath subsurface system F, and then to the wetland. As originally proposed, there was a perforated pipe wrapped in gravel that would act as any sort of, if any sort of groundwater were to migrate to that old wetland. The intent of it was to alleviate that groundwater, put it to the new wetland. My concern with this was it ran right underneath the subsurface infiltration system, and all of that water that was infiltrating from the stormwater would get collected into this perforated pipe and crushed stone, and then turn into surface water again in the wetlands. What they have done is they have essentially proposed now, instead of perforated pipe under the system, a solid pipe with no stone around it, but my concern was still that there was no anti-seep collars, essentially, that would allow for water to follow the path of least resistance along the face of pipe. So putting in an anti-seep collar, up gradient of the system and down gradient of the system, and having that solid pipe, offset from the system, that would, to me, prevent any sort of migration from essentially from infiltrating and then getting collected by the pipe or by that pipe system. So that was just one thing that we had talked about in our meeting, putting anti-seep collars in. That was just something that I didn't see, so I just called out.
And they're willing to do it.
All right, we'll go back and just
Yep.
see which ones you're gonna do, or which ones you have a problem with. Go ahead.
I'm good with 22.
23?
Yeah, so 23, I'm good with 23. 24, I'm good with. And then 25, we just wanted to see that the water quality unit 10 wasn't overwhelmed in the water quality storm. Dash had mentioned in the report that they had run that and it was good. It just wasn't in the back end of it, so I couldn't double check those calculations. So it seemed like it was just an oversight, but once I get those and check that, I should be good on that if everything checks out.
Okay.
Our view, of-
26.
oh, I'm sorry.
Just-
that was
yeah.
the last one. I thought that was the last one, sorry.
No, you're doing good, though. Got a lot knocked off the list right away.
Yep, 26 I'm good with.
All right, if you just give me 1 second.
Yep.
Counselor, and maybe I can just go through them real quick. I guess we had an issue with one. Are you willing to take care of one?
Yeah, so to address comment 1, we're happy to provide in the operation and maintenance manual, just some more details on the mowing/non-mowing, and we'll work with the applicant as far as what we're gonna implement there, but yeah, we're willing to address that.
Okay, so number 1, provided our engineer agrees, right?
Yes.
If there's any votes tonight. Number 5, the letter you said from the manufacturer, that's all you're looking for is a letter.
I'm looking for the designer to sign off that they.
To sign off
yeah,
on
they
it.
were okay with the
we'll
infiltration
provide
basis
that
behind
letter.
it.
So number 5 should be provided. 5, number 1. Number 6,
He was good with that one.
you good,
Yes.
good with 6?
Yep.
All the way to
22 's
21.
Okay.
22, I'm sorry.
All right, 22, from what I heard Counselor say, you're gonna
We will
address
install those
22,
items.
Yeah, we'll just update our detail and make sure that that's installed by the contractor.
as long as it's approved by our engineer. Guess we'll go to 23 then? No, 25, which is the last one, correct, or 23?
25.
25.
25, I think it's just providing some extra detail.
Yeah, that was an oversight on my part. I meant to include it
Nope.
at the end of the peer
So-
review letter, but I will include that.
So, yes, we'll give it to them.
So everything, you see no problem with any of this, as provided they give you 1, 5, 22, and 25 updated, and that's everything on the list.
Correct.
Okay, do you mind? We'll go around.
Go right ahead.
Jeremy?
Mr. Chair, I just want to say thank you to David for the thorough review, catching a lot of this stuff. The seepage collars, I think we all know this one pretty well from past project, but that's a good catch because we just want to prevent any of this off-site flow from hurting any of the neighbors. But, you know, as far as you came in here, you had 26 items last time you were in here. You narrowed it down to 22. Now we only have, so you only had 4 items left. I think I'm pretty well understanding exactly what's going on with everything with the retaining wall and infiltration basin 2. So I do appreciate just kind of the thoroughness that we've laid out here. You know, doing the condition of approval for item 5 and 22 makes a lot of sense to me, but just I guess, just understanding what exactly HydroCAD really is. If I could get just a very brief overview of what that is, so I can understand it in the future.
Charge them tutor fees.
HydroCAD essentially is a program that allows you to model stormwater. So you look at a general area, you figure out what that area, the soils are, et cetera. It ends up calculating out what the peak flows are gonna end up being coming from that. And then from there, you can design a system to, I guess, mitigate any sort of additional peak flows that you are going to see from the development. So you model it existing, so you get a baseline of what's existing out there, whether it's woods, undeveloped, et cetera. And then from there, you have to design your stormwater BMPs or best management practices, such as detention ponds, et cetera, to manage it. So you have conditions that are either meeting or better than previous. Is that?
That's all I needed. Thank you.
One of them fancy CAD things in computers, right? David?
I have nothing, as long as our engineers got it. You guys, I appreciate you coming in, making these changes, and hopefully we can get things rolling, and as long as you guys get back to Dave on all the corrections, he'll relay it over to Ben, and hopefully we can be good. Appreciate it.
We're happy with those as conditions.
Chaz?
I went by there the other night, and the retaining basin that's right next to Westford Road seemed to be pretty full. Is that being cleaned out as you going along with this, or?
Yeah, so that sediment basin that you're talking about, we implemented that based on the comments from last time to make sure that all the flows coming down from the site during rain events is going into that. So it does look full, but after a day or so, a couple days, it does like go down and it's pretty empty. Because we're doing the SWIP reports every week that we inspect that basin just to see the water levels, make sure that it is going down. Right now, the level, it is below. It's a little full of water. The last time I saw the pictures, which I believe we went out there actually today when it was raining, and it was a little full of water, but we have like a little riprap outlet or a spillway, and it was below that spillway, and the spillway goes out to Westford Road. So we aren't sending any flows more than we need out to the street, and that little basin is draining down. It's just with all the rain we've had recently that it's been a little full as of late.
They created that as a result of David's comments at the last hearing.
Yeah,
So,
and I realize that. I just want to make sure that there's some sort of a plan in place to keep it clean.
yes, there's
Because
an operations and maintenance
as
plan.
everything goes in there, it's going to fill back up again, and then we're,
Yeah, so as part
Okay.
of, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just gonna say, as part of the weekly inspections, we take a look at that basin, and if it does get clogged, it does get dirty, we will provide a report to the contractor saying you need to address X, Y, and Z, and then they'll go out and do that.
Okay.
So he's actively aware of that.
all right, thank you.
Mr. Chair, one more thing. That wrap that's along the road there for the potential of overflow, that's not gonna stay looking like that, correct, when this is done?
No, we're gonna
You're not giving water an entrance to our roadway, is what I'm
No.
asking.
Correct, yeah, we're
Okay.
not gonna have any overflow out to the roadway.
Perfect, yep, nope, and trust me, I go by there every single day, multiple times.
No.
And it is doing its job right now, so, appreciate it.
All right, so you guys are looking for 2 votes, I think, right?
Yeah, minor,
Minor,
and
and
then
then,
the modification based
conditions.
upon the plans with the 4 conditions, yeah.
we have no other conditions? Nothing? Nobody wants condition? No? You good with 4?
Yep.
All right.
Better than 25.
Much better. Looking for,
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that 50 Westford Road modifications are minor modifications.
a second.
Second.
You want a roll call, Pam, or just,
Not for this one.
no? Roll call? Go ahead, Jeremy. Roll call.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
Okay.
Mr.
Make
Chair,
a motion.
I think you need, I don't, did you say? Oh, you did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. For minor modification,
In accordance with the plan submitted.
with the plan submitted, do we have a date on them?
Approved with our engineer.
Is this the latest one you looked at,
So, yeah, these plans are dated March 26th.
Or you're gonna
But,
submit to,
yeah, we'd probably provide for the town's
Put it up.
records and then for David's
Updated
review,
plan
yeah.
with the town engineer.
as approved by the town engineer.
The board's engineer.
Yes.
Okay. Looking for another motion?
So
Conditions?
I guess I would make a motion to approve the modifications to 50 Westford Road
Yeah, we need the,
with the conditions that,
the plan that we went off of and conditions. Which plan?
so the plan that we went off of is the one dated March
March.
26th,
Okay.
with the conditions that comments 1, 5, 22 and 25 are mutually agreed upon between our town engineer and the applicant.
And that'll be the, from Tech Incorporated.
Yep.
Letter dated.
And make sure
April
that,
3rd, 2025.
make sure that Ben and Pam get something also, please.
Absolutely.
Attorney?
I will draft a
Good.
decision.
Yep, thank you.
Vote? Roll
Is
call?
there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote.
In favor?
In favor?
In favor.
In favor.
Really
Good luck.
appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys.
Appreciate the addressment of it.
Josh, I'll be in touch. I'll need some little guidance on
All right, next up, we're gonna take discussion, I think, preliminary open space residential subdivision, 25 Engels Road, map 9, parcel 15-2,
I think.
and portion of 16-.
Oh, they switched the orders, I did.
You switched the order on purpose?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay,
Sorry, I didn't know.
Nope, no problem.
yeah, you didn't know.
How you doing?
Good.
Good.
Most of you guys know me, Scott Cornell Construction.
It's a new hearing, Pam?
No, it's just a
Just a
discussion,
preliminary.
Sorry,
correct?
okay, yep.
Yeah, there's no public hearing
It's
or
preliminary
preliminary.
application, I guess. We don't normally do that. We haven't done that in the past, but we decided we would do the official preliminary and get some feedback on it, so that we can come back with the definitive without having to change a bunch of things, you know?
All right. Go ahead.
All right, good evening again, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Shia Tony here tonight with Scott Cannell, representative of Cannell Construction Corp. So we're here before you tonight. Did you get my, PowerPoint? Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
No worries. So we're here before you tonight for a preliminary hearing for an open space residential subdivision. We could have went forward with definitive off the start, but we just wanted to get the board's input on a few key items, just to ensure that we're going in the right direction and didn't have to go back to the drawing board if we did come with definitive and there were issues. So the project site in question is 25 Ingalls Road, referenced as map 9, lot 15-2, and a portion of lot 16. If the board recalls, there was a Form A pursuant to this project approved January 16th, earlier this year. And this site is located within the residential 1 zone, and there's basically 16.5 acres of lot area. So the lot consists of, it's entirely wooded at the moment, with frontage access along Ingalls Road, and there's wetlands in the front of the site, in the center of the site, and then there's an intermittent stream near the middle rear of the site that bisects the site in half. So this existing conditions plan shows the current site conditions. As you can see, there's wetlands in the front, right there at the site entrance at Ingalls Road, and then in the rear middle of the site, you can see the intermittent stream and the associated wetlands, and then beyond that, there's uplands area. So our proposed project consists of a 7-lot open space residential subdivision. We decided to go with the open space proposal because of that intermittent stream and associated wetlands. We wanted to avoid making a crossing there if we could help it, so we didn't want to disturb anything more than we needed to. So as part of that proposal, first we prepared a conventional subdivision plan per the regulations showing that we can get 7 lots conventionally, and then we showed an alternate layout with our common space, which I will get to in 1 second. But our proposed development consists of a 24-foot wide roadway with single-family houses on each lot, with associated wells and septic systems for each lot, as well as a drainage system that's going to consist of swales that will route runoff to an infiltration basin along with catch basins. And this will outlet to Ingalls Road via that same swale with check dams to slow down the flows before going to a plunge pool. So the next sheet that Pam has up right here is our conventional layout. Could you go back one, please, Pam? Thank you. Yeah, this is our conventional layout that shows, you can see the cul-de-sac extending past the proposed intermittent stream and the associated wetlands disturbance. So this, going with the conventional regulations, we are able to get 7 lots, but again, there's a lot more disturbance than we want. There's a lot more wetlands and tree clearing that if we can avoid, we would like to. So the next sheet shows our proposed lot configuration, which is the open space, and the entire secondary half of the lot will be assigned a conservation restriction to prevent any further development. We're providing access to this rear area via an access easement, and then we have a cul-de-sac road. It's approximately 750 feet in length, and 7 lots off of that cul-de-sac road, and you can see the aforementioned single-family houses. We have septic systems, proposed septic systems, as well as a well for each lot, and then 1 infiltration basin at the rear of lot 1. The next 2 sheets, zoomed in view of each associated lot with the driveway access to the roadway along with the house location, and the houses are within the proposed setbacks. Same for the sheet as well. The next sheet shows our proposed grading concept design, which consists of a road which is 9% at the site entrance before lowering down to 5%, going back to the cul-de-sac. As part of this grading, we have the aforementioned basin that's capturing the runoff from the site, along with a swale on the bottom side of the roadway that will capture runoff, hold it via check dams, stone check, riprap check dams that will retain the water, and then slowly convey it down to the street where we have a riprap plunge pool proposed. So this is our plan and profile that shows the roadway, proposed roadway configuration and the proposed roadway slopes in accordance with the town regulations. And the next sheet shows our test pit data, which we implemented in a preliminary manner as for our design right now. We did go out and do test pits that were witnessed by the Board of Health for each of the proposed 7 lots, and that was taken into account in this preliminary design to confirm that the soils out there were adequate for septic systems and that we'd be able to meet the Title V regulations. So we received our peer review letter for the preliminary plans from David on the 25th of March. And to quickly, a precursor to the peer review letters, we did receive department comments, on March 25th. Conservation, we have kept in the loop. We've had discussions with Emily leading up to this preliminary filing, where she did sign off on our proposed concept of replication as well as the subdivision layout. Concom did say that they will require a full notice of intent along with a major stormwater permit and a tree clearing permit, which we do plan on filing for, along with the Army Corps permit at the time of definitive subdivision filing. The fire department will require a 12,000-gallon cistern, which we are amenable to installing per their requirements. And then the Board of Health noted that the project will be subject to Title V regulations and well regulations for the proposed septic systems and wells, which we will be more than happy to construct and design our systems in conformance with. And the peer review letter that we received from David, that came through April 1st. And some of the items that David brought up, I didn't list them all here. We can go through them one by one as needed, or focus on the,
We're not gonna go through them tonight, we'll,
okay, understood.
can do that on the side, but as long as you come back with something.
If I could just make a comment, so, just so you know the backstory of it a little bit, well, two things I just wanted to bring up. I know you guys, I know it's getting late. One is I did sit down myself with that 7-lot subdivision that was traditional sized lots. Back when Eric was still here, I sat with Eric, Jake, and Emily just to get their feedback on, what do you guys think about this? This is what we want to do. And it was at that time, actually, that, Jake pointed out the length of the crossing that'd have to be on that important wetland that there is. And I think it was Eric who said, you probably should, why don't you think about an open space and, give a bunch of land to the town. And so that's what got the thought in our heads to go ahead and spend time and money on that. We got that from them. And the only second thing I wanted to mention is the couple of small wetlands that are identified there when you first go in. I was shocked when I saw them. I think when we built my niece's house 10 years ago out there, somebody put a pile of dirt right there, and I think it just stopped the flow of, that whole gradient comes out to Ingalls Road there. And so I don't know my terminology for wetland, but I know that you could walk through there even after all this rain and you probably wouldn't find it, I think the important ones are the ones that we're not touching, I guess is what I'm saying,
All right, Dave, you got a list of stuff that you can work with them? What are some of the, I guess,
Yeah, so
you don't have to take them all one by one, but the
No, of course.
most
So just-
concerning
Yep,
for the board at this time.
so just to kind of jump to the most concerning ones, like you said. So comment 5 has to do with the layout of the road. Tyngsborough subdivision regulations, minimum roadway radius at the center line is 150 feet. They're proposing about 55 feet. So it's a sharp right turn. I don't know what the truck turning on that would be. I don't know if there was a truck turning that was submitted in preliminary, but it was just a concern. And then I guess just jumping to stormwater, first approximately 300 feet of roadway is like a 9% slope, and it just directly flows down to the main road through there.
That number 8, Dave?
12. So it's a long steep gradient that would pick up a lot of stormwater, and not all of it is channeled to the swale. And even still, it's a long, even with check dams through the swale, it's a lot of water coming off site. And then the biggest one to me, excuse me, is the stormwater basin. This whole site, it's a big hill,
Which number?
I'm sorry, 13, so.
Okay.
So number 13, infiltration basin is located directly up gradient to an abutting residential property. The emergency spillway right now overtops during the 100-year storm and just puts water into essentially this person's property. Even still, just having an infiltration basin kind of perched above a residential property, I know that if I was living there, I wouldn't necessarily want it there. However, it's a concern. It's a tough site. I'll absolutely give you that. It's a big hill, but just trying to control the stormwater, detain it, and prevent off-site flows to both 23 Ingalls as well as just Ingalls Road in general. Those are my biggest concerns coming through.
All right. You think you can address the rest and go through them with them afterwards?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Jeremy.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Just want to say I appreciate you guys coming in advance. I always appreciate getting out in front of this and getting feedback before submitting. I'm curious if, have you reached out to abutters, had a neighborhood meeting at all, just to get feedback yet?
No, I do plan to do that. I've actually talked to a couple of them as I walk my dog by. I actually live on Ingalls Road, and this is family land, all know me, you know. I think there's one that I haven't had a minute to do that with, but I plan to do that. In fact, it's the ones that are behind the detention basin that he's concerned about. But they have actually a man-made swimming pond right there, onto their property. I don't think that probably matters for stormwater management, but, so I do plan to have that, and if you guys especially like that, I can go ahead and do that sooner rather than later, yeah.
I think for me, I always appreciate it because you know, face to face, there's nothing like it, right?
Yeah, right.
And
The-
rather
the-
than,
And the woman out back, with the big acreage there, the horse farm, 25 acres, it wraps around her. She knows what we're doing because, you know, she came out there when we were testing and stuff like that, and she actually asked us to not dig one day when she had something at her house there, so it wouldn't be noise, so we didn't, and,
but
yeah.
overall, David hit on a lot of the big ones. The radius is probably something to just pay attention to because of the fire truck and
Right.
getting in there and where you're gonna be placing that cistern. I know it's probably, changing that radius is probably gonna impact the lot one. It probably has a trickle-down effect on how you're gonna split them up and still keep that 35,000 square feet per lot, so. One other thing, just curious about the proposed common land conservation restriction. I understand that's all wet back there, but what are the plans with that? Is that,
Well, it's actually not. There's the crossing, and then there's a streamland, and then it's actually all dry, quite a bit of it's dry, the rest of it. So we plan on making access from the new road, you know, via a trail or whatever, out to it. And I'm just guessing that the Conservation Commission may want us to do something to get over that, to get to the dry land. So we're prepared to have that conversation with them as well, or, you know, or whichever board is the one that wants us to do that. I don't.
Yeah, there are existing paths that go over the wetlands technically, but as Scott said, it's really not that wet. So if the board does want us to do something, then we can work with them as needed.
One of them is an old cow path from my great-grandfather's farm, from Groton Road to Ingalls Road. It's been used for years. But, yeah, we're very amenable to, I've even got relatives that live at the end of Farmers Way that their sister is one of the abutters to this, and, you know, they'd want to have a path that would go from there to there as well, you know, so.
yeah, it'd be great. I mean, you guys,
Yeah.
you got tons of wildlife out there, so.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yep.
I appreciate it.
Just real quick, there's a lot of, quite a few, I'll say, discrepancies on distance between things. I'm not gonna go over them tonight, but is there any chance of making this less than 7 houses to conform with some of these imperfections, I'll call them right now?
I would really prefer not to do that. You know, the lots are actually nowhere near, there's 2 of them that are twice as much as 35,000 square feet. They're
Yeah, but
actually pretty
I'm
big.
looking at where the wells are, where the septic systems are going,
Right.
as, you know, with the neighbor's house and all that.
Yeah, so,
You're looking for,
yeah, I definitely understand
Relief
your
from that.
concern. So as far as the layout and the setbacks, all those distances, we kind of lay them out in a preliminary manner. But when we go for full design, we'll make sure that we're in full conformance and compliance with the 100 feet from well to septic, and then 100 foot from well to drainage basin, the house setbacks. So we'll make sure that we're taking all that into account.
Yeah, to be honest, when I had that conversation with Eric and Emily and Jake that day, that was my first comment back to Eric was, well, you know, the land's so tough, I don't know if I can get septic testing for open space, because I pictured open space development to be more clustered even than this, with 35,000 square foot lots, but we were able to get them big enough so that it looks, I think it's gonna look just like driving up Farmers Way, where we had 65,000 square foot lots and up, you know. So we're hoping.
okay. I'll see what the group looks like then. Thank you.
Trees are always my concern. And in looking at an aerial map, it looks like most of the houses that are on Ingalls, are sort of sitting in the middle of the forest, if you will. And I can see where you've got your tree design on here, what you're gonna leave. I was wondering if you could leave some more trees in the front yards and so forth, and sort of continue
100%.
that.
You know, that's what they just, you know, the engineers typically draw the outer thing,
Yep.
and they connect the lines from one lot to the next. We don't always do that. You know, we like to try to leave trees between houses. We're kind of known for that. We kind of tell our tree guy, not to take certain trees out. A lot of times it bites us because we gotta go back and take it later for some fill or something. But if there's no other reason, we like to have trees between the houses, 100%, yep.
Okay. And then, yeah, that sort of infiltration pond thing that you've got between, that's a concern.
Right.
Obviously,
Right.
and Dave's picked up on most of the stuff that I was looking at, so.
I mean, is the board good with the open space idea? Like
love that.
Now it doesn't have to.
That's great.
Now it doesn't have to go to town meeting like at one time it
But you
did,
do
right?
need to get a special permit.
You still need to get a special permit.
Yeah, so if you, I don't know if you remember, Ava Lane was exactly this. So Ava Lane is an open space residential subdivision, and they have to get a special permit in addition to the definitive
Okay.
plan. And it's all kind of,
All at the same time, kind
all
of?
at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah, so
all
the
right.
planning and zoning board, you guys are the approving authority on that special permit, correct?
Not the zoning board.
Oh, just the planning board, okay.
is for both.
Special
Here
permit
already.
from planning board.
Yeah, but like you said, we don't have to go to town meeting now
Yeah.
for the open space.
Yeah, which makes more sense.
Yeah.
Conservation still,
I-
still have to go to conservation.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
They
okay.
file and all that. I think you got some work cut out for you with the engineer. I think that sight line being 55 feet and needing 100 and something, 50, that could be an issue. So why don't we, you know, you got a lot of work to do, but work closely with him and,
Yeah, if I may, Mr. Chairman, we did run truck turning analysis for the fire. I understand your concerns about the sight lines, and we'll do what we can to address that, but given the site conditions, given the number of lots, we'll do what we can, but,
and getting back to, you know, David's point, you know, you got 7 house lots in there, and, you know, you're looking for relief for almost 100 feet of sight line. It's more cars than had it been you know, if you had a back way out or something. I don't know, just something to keep
Yeah.
in mind. It is a big
I'm
concern, which we've had at other projects,
yep.
so.
yeah, it's something that we will look into as well, is locating the proposed driveways as far away from that turn as possible to prevent any sightline issues with cars backing out and reversing, just because it wouldn't be as visible, but we'll do all we can to.
Yeah.
I want you to be aware of it, that's
Yeah,
all.
yeah,
It's-
yeah.
It's a,
Yep.
it's
No,
a
I mean,
big
you know, we're
ask.
trying to stick with the 7 for the main reason is, you know, I think I've been telling people who asked about it, you know, I've built big fancy houses, custom houses for people. What I'm trying to do here is, and I'm not gonna promise numbers, but I'm trying to, you know, if we can get that less amount of road, which is better for the town too, and get 7 lots, we'll be able to build something and sell something that maybe some 35-year-old couple that can't afford to buy a new house in Westford or even in Tyngsborough.
What was the starting price of your houses up on Farmers Way?
What's that?
What were the starting prices of your houses up on Farmers Way?
Starting at was 7-something, but they quickly went beyond, you know, yeah.
And,
No, I
and
know.
the
What-
cost of things are much more right now, so.
What we're talking about is,
If you can work on that road thing,
That's,
Yeah.
we're not gonna
safety-wise,
get,
snow, all that.
we're not gonna get into, right, you came here for preliminary, we're telling you some things that stick out like a sore thumb.
yep,
That are concerns. You know, you're the only one that can address them with, you know, with the engineer, and then you can come back with that argument if you think 7 are better than, you
Yep.
know, 12, and, you know, maybe one house there wouldn't matter on a sight line.
yeah.
Yeah,
That-
so,
Just pointing out what sticks out.
No, understood, that's what we're
Understood.
looking for, yep.
yeah. So it's,
Just with that, everybody else set?
Mr. Chairman, I had a question for the board. It was one of the waiver requests. I just wanted to gauge everyone's thoughts on it. One of the requirements of the open space bylaw is that we provide a 100-foot residential buffer for the houses to the rear property lines, and that's something we are going to request a waiver for. I just wanted to gauge the board's thoughts on potentially approving that at this time, or sorry, not approving it at this time, but just to get your thoughts.
Is it 90 feet, is it
You'd
98
have to
feet,
see
is
it.
it 54?
He drew it 30 feet like the traditional,
it's-
because the lots are so big, but
I personally have a hard time with like
Which page?
So the,
walks in
Is it this-
people's
is it
yards,
this one?
so.
yep, that sheet, and then the three houses on the left, lot 3, lot 4, and lot 5. Those are the ones in question, and the reason why we have them located that far back is because of the septic system.
Here.
Even though we got good perk rates, we ran into some issues with the ledge, so we wanted to, if possible, avoid pumping systems. And those you can see those house lots are slid further back than the other ones are relative to the road because of the septic system, so.
So you're talking you're 30 feet within the walking line, walking path?
Yeah, I believe
Open
it's-
space, I guess you'll say?
no, it's to the neighbor, it's to the abutter,
Yeah, so
The house or the property line?
it's
property line. It's a
the,
big field, it's, it's to their property line. Yeah.
Right on,
I don't think we're gonna take a
Right on the
vote on it
setback?
tonight.
understood,
no,
I
no,
just,
just
yeah, we
one.
just wanted to get your thoughts, because if that was something that you would just say that's a no-go, then we'd redesign it now, but
Well,
it's something we could.
concern, so.
We can show it on the definitive plans, and then, once it's final design, then you can get a better idea, of how close it would be. It's just something like at
Well,
this
it's only
stage.
2 of them that really need it, maybe the third one. but
Yeah, the third one is kind of
The other
close,
ones
but-
are in 100 feet anyway.
Yeah, lot 3 and lot 4 are the main ones, so we just wanted to get your quick thoughts on that.
Well, can't you move lot 3, move the house up more towards the center of the lot, or are you in the wetlands there?
Septic system's right there.
Yeah, if that becomes, I don't want to move it closer to the wetland that we're keeping there, but if it became a thing, we just do a pumped-up system. It's not the end of the world. It just creates a kind of a lousy yard, you gotta go up.
Is that abutting the horse farm? Is that what that
Yes.
abuts?
Yeah. Okay.
All right?
So
So we'll wait to
as-
see something from you.
So as far
Thanks
as
for
our
coming in,
next
though.
steps
Really
moving
appreciate
forward,
it, yep.
if we were to file definitive, I just want to confirm that the board you guys are on board with that,
Not
and
on board with anything.
Yeah, what are we
just-
on board with?
I mean, you came here, you're not gonna get a vote on it, want
Un-
to see the whole plan. I mean, 7 lots, somebody's already said, what if it was only, cut back a couple lots? That eliminates sight lines, people, and,
understood, so,
I guess if you're asking, would I approve this plan as proposed tonight? Probably not.
understood. What I was more so asking was if we were to address the board's comments, we were to address David's comments, and then come back with definitive, that there wouldn't be any issues, because,
Don't know. Can't answer that.
all right, yeah, we'll continue, modify the preliminary.
Thanks, Counselor.
Thanks, Pete.
Make sure you send him a bill.
You already
Not
did.
Scott.
You already did. All right, thank
good.
you. Good
Thanks,
luck.
guys. Appreciate it.
Just,
Need a
the only
motion to
thing,
continue.
the only thing I can suggest is work closely with the engineer to try and get
Mr. Chair,
everything
She
addressed.
said we need a motion to continue. I make a motion to continue to, do you want to be here the next meeting, or you need more time?
April 17th.
We can continue to the next meeting, and if we do need to continue after that, then we can.
Just
do
make
that.
sure you contact Pam or Ben.
Yep.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, next up, 405, 409 Middlesex Road, map 11, parcel 26, Yellow House Cannabis, LLC. Applicant for modification to the site plan as well as any other permit relief as may be required to amend the site plan to reflect as-built conditions. Advertised in the Low Sun, March 20th and 27th. Want to open the public meeting,
Sure like to
waive the readings?
make a motion to waive the reading of the legal ads and the abutters list.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Open the public hearing, Chaz? Motion,
Yeah, motion to open the public hearing?
second?
That's what we
I
just did.
thought
didn't
that was the reading.
we? Oh, okay, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, staff, good evening. For the record, Douglas DeShane from Finneran and Nicholson, representing Yellow House Cannabis LLC, the applicants for the project. With me this evening, Mike Allen, who you will recall is the manager of Yellow House Cannabis LLC and is going to be the operator of this facility. We filed a modification request because of some incorrect things that were done on the site, but I'd like to present the situation and explain why things happen and what we are gonna do to rectify it, as opposed to just seek a modification to let sleeping dogs lie. That's not our intention. But before I do, Mr. Allen has asked if he could just make a quick presentation to the board. He has been involved in this since it occurred, and, he'd just like to make a statement. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for the opportunity to come before you this evening. Didn't think I'd be in this position to have to do that, but it's very unfortunate that things happened during this project that never should have happened, quite frankly. So first and foremost, I'm here tonight to apologize to you all on behalf of the company for the missteps that have occurred during the project. There were changes made that were never brought back before this board. That never should have happened. The board should have been kept up to speed and up to date on the changes that were made. And I unfortunately relied on professionals that I hired to guide me along the way, every step of the way, and they quite bluntly disappointed me and didn't do the things that they were hired to do. And that's unfortunate that we're in this position this evening. I take full responsibility, though, despite that. As the owner of the project, I'm not going to sit here before you and try to point the finger at others, because I'm the owner, and I'm responsible, and I take full responsibility for that. So I want you to hear that from me. I'd like to ask the board tonight to come to try to work towards an agreeable resolution to this, to where we're at today. We have completed the building. It's a beautiful building. It is going to be a first-class facility, and it's going to generate a lot of revenue for this community. And so I'm hopeful to get the doors open despite what's happened, and start doing that and getting revenue generated for the town. So with that being said, thank you again for the opportunity, and I'm going to turn it over to Attorney DeShane for further comment.
Thank you, Mike. As I understand, there's been 3 major deviations from the approved plans. And I'd like to walk through each one of them and discuss our proposed resolution of the problem and whether that, in fact, requires a modification to the plans or not. Because in at least 2 instances, we like to just do it right. So we're not necessarily asking for a modification. But, so let's start with the first issue, and I've read David's report, and I think he's summed up the 3 issues quite well, so I'll sort of follow that. The first issue has to do with the fact that the building was actually shifted 4 feet from the original location. It was shifted east. You may recall that one of the big requirements in building this site was that our building had to be located a minimum of 500 feet from the other cannabis store in Tyngsborough. And the designs were done so that we would meet that. However, as I understand, once the layout was put in the ground for the foundation, it was determined that it wasn't correct. It wasn't 500 feet away. So, rather than, making me aware of that, or quite frankly, Mike aware of that, the folks that were hired to build this correctly in accordance with the permit made a decision, well, we just slide the building 4 feet, doesn't change anything, and they did it. However, as was pointed out by the peer review, that moving that building 4 feet, while it's still in conformance with all of your setbacks and things, it resulted in a, instead of having a 3-to-1 slope, we now have 2-to-1 slope, a steeper slope. However, as pointed out, with no stormwater originating from the top of the slope and the existing swale at the toe of the slope, there's very little potential for off-site runoff from this change. However, while it's common industry standard to have a 3-to-1 slope for vegetated landscaped areas, we were proposing grass. A 3-to-1 slope, it raises the question, as you discussed at the last meeting, how do you mow a 2-to-1 slope if you've got grass? Just a little too steep. So the recommendation was that we propose an alternative to the stabilization of that slope rather than the grass that was proposed that would need to be cut. So Mike took it upon himself to go back, meet with a landscape architect to find out what would be best. And the recommendations that were given back to us were you could rip-wrap the slope and, to stabilize it and make sure that it was, the water flowed correctly. Or the other alternative is to provide a more hardy planting, a ground cover that doesn't require mowing. So what we would like to do, obviously, we would need a modification to allow for the shift of the building. But we would propose that as part of that modification, we would either provide a riprap on that slope or a more hardy, non-mowing vegetation. And really, quite frankly, we are willing to do whatever it is you want, and thought perhaps the board might want to suggest which of those two, or, look to your peer reviewer to suggest which he thinks is the more appropriate slope. Because you're not going to mow a 2-to-1 slope. So I guess I'd like to start there. Is what is it that the board...
Why don't we go through the couple of them, because
All right,
we opened up a whole new meeting, right? You refiled for a new meeting.
Yep.
Looking to get it approved on.
Yeah, modification, yeah.
So why don't we go through?
All three of them?
Yeah.
Okay. The second modification, in fact, results from the movement of the building, because when we moved the building 4 feet, that left us with approximately 100 square feet of area that, is now driveway or parking area, because we did the same landscaping around the building that we were supposed to do. But by moving it that 4 feet, we now have this additional 100 square feet of impervious area that is paved. Fortunately, your peer reviewer has acknowledged that the change will not make an impact to the stormwater design or the layout intent of the site. So that is a situation that, we would ask the board to consider granting a modification with respect to that 100 square feet. And I guess in actuality, it goes with the modification of moving the building 4 feet. What bothers me most about this, guys, is, you know, we are all well aware that that 500 feet was gospel, and the minute they found out it was there was a problem, they had to move things, it would have been a quick trip in to talk to you guys about it. I know that.
We know that.
My client knows that, but as I think you heard perhaps from the engineer, he didn't think, he should do that, or that it was necessary. So, the third and probably the most substantial modification was the fact that the roundings at the entrance, which were approved as granite, were actually installed with bituminous concrete. And the basis or understanding of why that was done incorrectly had to do with timing, scheduling, and availability of materials. That when we finally got our curb cuts from Mass DOT, which approved the granite as required, we needed the curb cut, National Grid needed the permit from Mass DOT to run the utility lines. We found ourselves right on the edge of paving for the season. So, although the granite was installed around the island at the entrance, you'll know it was installed all around the building, and it was installed along the left side of the parking area. Once again, due to the lack of the material and this seemingly deadline to get paving down, an erroneous decision was made to put bituminous curbing in. And in fact, in doing so, they actually the folks in charge actually went back to Mass DOT to make sure that they could, that their curb cut permit would be allowed with the bituminous, and Mass DOT didn't have a concern with it, from what I understand. So in goes the bituminous just before the deadline, for the plant's closing and not being able to pave. Then I guess you guys got an as-built plan that's, and lo and behold, that wasn't true. So, again, what we're here to talk to you about tonight is, one, whether you would allow for the modification of the movement of the building and the additional 100 feet of pavement, and whether you would accept our offer to actually have an opportunity to put the granite curbing in the entrance on the rounding as was required.
Good, all set for now?
For now.
Jeremy?
Just want to say thank you for coming in here to clarify some of this, because last time with the engineer, there was just more uncertainty because of the 4 feet. Once we heard 4 feet, and there was just what moved 4 feet, no one really had a clue what that 4 feet meant. So I think we're bringing clarity to that now. And when I heard 4 feet, it's more, we know that this property had, it's through litigation, is very well known with what's happening with the 500-foot setback from the other building. I think that was the one thing that triggered in my brain was, 4 feet, where is it moving? Is it moving closer? Is it moving away? I'm glad that we can see the radius and that you have that 502.2 feet from the other facility. That puts me at ease quite a bit, quite honestly. And then, what I wasn't, and the big concern for me was more the entrance, because we know that you have the Amazon distribution, or I won't say Amazon, but the distribution center going in across, and that it could have been a possible trigger if it was moving elsewhere, but it doesn't sound like that entrance is moving at all from what it was proposed. Is that correct?
That's our understanding, but that doesn't mean that Mass DOT could come back to us as if that other project moves forward and asked it to move it.
Sure.
And you'll recall, my clients did commit that if they have to move it, they will move it.
And so, all that said, items 1 and 2, I'm feeling more confident about those moving forward. And I'll the 100 square feet of impervious surface added, it's not changing the impact to the overall stormwater design. So, that's all the comments I have. Thank you.
David?
I'm not gonna thank yous for coming in tonight, because I would've liked to thank yous a long time ago. So, that being said, you knew well on that this building wasn't gonna meet the 500-foot requirement, correct? You said that earlier, you stated it.
Yeah, no, well, once they put in
That was the time for you guys to come in front of us.
No question.
And another thing you said
Agreed.
is you weren't looking to blame anybody. You've done nothing but blame everybody but you.
I took responsibility.
You've been pointing the finger at everybody. As for the distance from the other properties, according to our engineer, everything's good, right? For where they moved the building?
Correct.
Correct, that's good. What's the radius like going around the back of the building now for the fire trucks and whatnot to get through? Have we looked into that?
I don't think the radius or the building footprint changed, it just everything got shifted.
Okay. And as for the granite that you didn't do, it's not up to Mass DOT to tell you whether or not it's good. If you took the time, not talking to you, I'm talking to Mike. If you took the time to contact Mass DOT like you said you did, why didn't you take the time to contact us? We're the ones who approved it.
Sure.
I full-heartedly know, I feel rather, I'm sorry, that you knew everything you were doing, and you were gonna do it, and just come in and beg for forgiveness. And that's exactly what it sounds like you're doing here tonight. So with that being said, I think you can tell which way I'm leaning to what I expect to be done on this site. That's it, Mr. Chair.
Jess?
Yeah, I'm really disappointed that it didn't occur to anybody, your engineering team or anyone else to come back here and say, hey, we've got a problem, help us fix it. So I won't even get into any of this any more than just to say I'm very disappointed. Obviously, we're not gonna have you take the building down, the building's where it is, and it is what it is. As far as the slope, I don't want riprap in there, I want some kind of greenery, which is what we were promised. So, if you can get some nice bushes in there, or some trees in there, that's my preference. As far as the 100 feet, that gives you a little more maneuverability for cars and stuff moving around. I'm happy with that. As far as the curbing goes, yeah, we wanted that look going in there. That's why we asked you or told you to put the granite in. So I want the granite in, I want some nice landscaping in where it was supposed to be, and we move on.
And we're committed to providing both of those.
I've already,
Yeah, we've already contacted the company to order the granite and give us a schedule for installation.
And what's the schedule for that?
6 to 8 weeks from start to finish. So the granite's been ordered. By the time it comes in, it's about 4 weeks, and then the actual work to install it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, can I get in one more before you?
Go ahead, get one more.
Can I ask a question? Because this kind of eats me a little bit. How did you obtain the temporary permit to open in the beginning? How was that approached?
The temporary permit to open?
Yeah, you asked for an
An
occupancy,
OP.
the occupancy.
Oh, the
permit.
occupancy
Yeah,
permit?
how was that approached? Who did the initial work to get that done? Because you weren't done. So I'm just trying to figure out how you were issued a temporary permit in December 17th, 2024.
We requested it from the building.
You requested it?
We requested it from the building department.
Knowing that you weren't complying with the cannabis and having all your stuff done?
We did have all that.
you gotta have an occupancy permit to submit your paperwork, right?
Correct.
So what you did was you pushed aside our board to speed up your process, hear me out, to speed up your process with the state, which seems a little fraudulent in my eyes. Agree, disagree?
Are you asking me to respond to that?
Sure.
That's
I'd
not
love
accurate
it.
whatsoever.
What's that?
I followed every rule and regulation. I followed every protocol in terms of requesting the proper permits with the town. I was issued a certificate of occupancy, and then filed the appropriate request with the state to get our final inspection, and everything was done in accordance with the regulations and.
Was, just real quick,
and the
was the state
permits.
aware that you guys had all that stuff to comply with still, before you were gonna get a final occupancy?
There was nothing more to comply with at that point in terms of what we believed. It wasn't until
So they knew the building was moved without our approval?
the building was moved, again, without knowledge that the professionals that were hired to, as I said earlier, to do this, to make the proper notifications, I paid them a lot of money.
I'm sure you did.
Now, ultimately, as I told you, I know you said I didn't take responsibility. I am taking responsibility for that because that happened under my watch. And much like when I was a professional in law enforcement, when things happen as the chief of police, when things happen under my watch, I took responsibility for it. So I am taking responsibility for that here. There was nothing done inappropriately. We filed for all, it's all sequential. You have to supply all the documents to the state in order to get the proper
I
permit.
understand that fully.
And that was done in accordance with no malintent or trying to hoodwink anybody or pull the wool over the eyes of the board. That was not the intent whatsoever.
So let's just look at this real quick. So you say you got all that, you agreed to our building inspector to do it, but when did you order the granite?
When did I order the granite for this?
Yeah.
Oh, just this past week.
But you told the building inspector you're gonna do everything back December 17th. You made an agreement with him.
We had it all, it was already done.
Pavement
We
was
had,
in.
it was already in.
Bituminous was in.
It wasn't done to the specs.
Understood, that's why we're here tonight.
I'm done.
Understood, but that's why we're here tonight.
No,
just-
excuse me, if I could just answer
just-
your question, because, you know, you honestly think my client knowingly
All right, we're not.
did
we're-
this
we're-
to
Listen,
no, but
sir,
that's
let's.
crazy.
Counselor.
Who would ever do that, David?
Counselor, you know, probably simpler. When did you realize that it wasn't built the way it was supposed to be?
The night the engineer came before this board and I watched this meeting,
So he never told you, is what you're saying?
that's correct.
Okay. Well, I myself have some issues. Obviously, you guys were granted, planning board approval with certain conditions. You say you're gonna take care of the issues. I think you'll come back with some planting designs that, our engineer can look at, and the board can look at next time, and you're gonna have your granite in. And I guess we'll go from there at that point. See how you feel, or see what you bring back to the board for completion, I guess.
Well,
So
I-
in the meantime, it's a public meeting. Anybody in the public wishing to speak for or against? Hearing none? You're up, Counselor.
All right, then we're asking the board to approve the modification of the movement of the building and the 100 square feet of additional impervious, and the fact that the slope is now 2-to-1 or 3-to, rather than 3-to-1. So those are essentially the modifications we're asking for. Conditions of those modifications, I would suspect, would be, one, that we provide a landscaping plan acceptable to your peer reviewer.
You opened a whole new hearing, correct? So we can continue this with you bringing that to us. We don't have to approve that tonight.
You don't. But you need to understand, or I'd ask you to consider the fact that my client this building was done. We have satisfied all public and safety and health issues. The site is,
That's not the question before us.
we are going to correct the problems.
Okay? That's what we're hoping for. So
We're-
when you correct
And
them,
we're wondering why you can't reopen or reallow our occupancy permit. He's got staff that's been hired, trained, ready to go. I mean,
Well, this is
why,
the first I hear about reopening the occupancy permit. You were
not
here for-
reopening it, but you asked the building inspector to withdraw it.
This board,
Yeah,
okay.
right? And
I'm
I'm
not- I'm-
asking you
I'm-
to
Do you wanna
allow
vote?
him to reissue it.
I think that you should go correct the problems first.
It's
And the
8
issues.
weeks to fix the curbing.
And it would have been one night to
8
come and see
weeks.
us.
You're correct, that's why I'm saying, why does anyone think we did this purposely?
I'm not saying you did it purposely. I'm not.
But
You
why,
gotta-
but listen, you can understand, that site is ready to be opened, it's past everything. We don't have granite at the opening. It's not a safety issue, it's not a problem, really. It's punitive, if you make us wait 8 weeks. Do you know the money
I'm not I didn't make you wait at all.
You are if you aren't willing to let us occupy while we fix these problems.
Mr. Chair, if I may, just real quickly.
Sure.
So you expect this board to give you guys an opportunity to fix this again, potentially not get fixed again, and you also expect us, retired chief, you just reiterated? So you expect us to have you guys have machines and everything in there digging and putting in granite curbing and everything while you're operational? Do you see what's going on at the facility across the street? Not a chance in my eyes. It should have been done. It should have been done. You can sit here and beg for forgiveness all you want. I'm not gonna set this kind of precedent for anybody else
That's-
watching.
you know
I'm
what,
not begging for forgiveness. I'm
okay,
asking you to consider
If
the
you
situation
wanna
and the
vote-
modification. What I'm asking you not to do is punish my client
I'm not punishing him.
financially
Listen, go ahead, you can finish.
to anyone, allowing.
I don't know what to tell you. Do you vote? I mean, it's not a minor modification. You opened it up for a new hearing.
Okay.
Move it. So it's all well and fine what you're gonna do, but we'd like to see the project completed before you open.
Why is that?
Because that's,
It's part of our permitting process in the beginning. This isn't rocket science. It's complying with what was
I
supposed to
know,
be
but
done.
what's wrong with the site also isn't
he already
a
told you, because when
showstopper.
it goes back time in, for you to put in the granite, it's a safety concern. So if you wanna go get a whole plan with the police department details and a schedule, then you can come back and I'll consider it. But right now, we have nothing but maybe 6 to 8 weeks. So that's where I stand. If you want to get a plan in place to have a police detail there when the work's there, give us a schedule so that we can hold it to a scheduled time, then maybe the board, you may be able to come back and ask for that temporary occupancy that I knew nothing about until 3 minutes ago. You didn't lead with that. You led with, we needed a modification, so.
Well, again, when
To
it
correct
when it came to my attention that this was done wrong, I was the one that suggested you need to file, well, you had actually started to file the modification. I said, that's certainly what you have to do.
And we agree with you. That'd be great to come back with some kind of plan then, if that's what you intend on doing, and we'll review it then for safety issues, whether it'll work or not.
Is it okay if I interject?
No, let us finish this
Yes,
first.
okay, sure.
Okay, I understand what you're saying.
All right?
Yep.
So that's what we would like. Go ahead, Ben.
No, I just, I don't want tensions to keep getting higher. I don't want this to.
There's no tension.
Yeah,
so-
I know, but I was just gonna say, would an option here be to continue this? So, because obviously
It
this
is, it's a new meeting, it's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
get continued for 2 weeks. They can come back and
Yeah.
present it all to us. That's what a new meeting is for this, and hopefully in 2 weeks you come back with some kind of plan to present us and maybe calm some of the concerns for safety.
All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I may, we have a plan.
Okay,
I
why don't you bring it?
understand it's not a written plan before you,
I'd like
but
to see a written plan with all the issues addressed, the three of them, time schedule, written plan, if there's gonna be work done before, and whether there's details needed, however you decide you're gonna shut it down, close that week, whatever it is, so that the public safety concern is addressed here. And then at that point, I think we could all make, without people getting upset, a really, decent decision, and one that we can know that the public is safe.
I understand.
So if you come back with some kind of plan, 2 weeks, that's all good.
All right, thank you, I appreciate that opportunity.
Hang on. Jeremy, you good with that? Dave?
Just so you know, I'm not gonna be, in favor of a police detail and all that. I see what goes on at that other marijuana shop, and it is total chaos. I'm just telling you, it's me only talking, you guys need to get that granite in and get it done to get that place open properly. And then fix whatever landscaping you gotta do. I think we're being more than, considerate here, but you gotta understand our frustration when this dates back all the way to December 17th. And I do believe you missed a couple of meetings in between there, didn't you?
Neither here nor
But
there.
I'm just saying, so they would've had more time
You
from
good?
us. Yep.
Chaz?
Yeah.
Anything to
We'll see you
follow
in
up?
2 weeks, yep.
Request to continue it for 2 weeks. Can I get a motion?
Chair, I'd like to continue 405 to 409 Middlesex Road to our next meeting on April the 17th.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks.
Thank you for your time.
thank you.
What do we got next here?
Just the minutes.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from March 20th, 2025 as written.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. New business. Any new business? Hearing none. Old business. Hearing none, hang on. Going back to new business, did we talk to Crown Estates? We find out what's going on?
So yeah, I'm trying to get in touch with Merrimack Construction. I was able to contact the real estate group and they put me in touch with them, but I've not been able to get a hold of him. So I've been trying to reach out, but
All right,
nothing yet.
next move, can you reach out to the attorney and see what we can do to,
Yeah.
get in contact with them
Yeah,
before we
absolutely.
can grab that bond and see what needs to
Yeah.
be done there?
I've recently obtained his personal cell phone number, so I'm hopeful that next week I should be able to make contact with him.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Oh, and sorry, just an update on the industrial way as well. I talked to Guy, and they're able to combine their efforts between the owners, and they're hoping May it should be paved. They got a quote, they got somebody to do it, so I'm hopeful that that should be done soon.
Good.
Right?
One more, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Were you looking into the enclave also? We discussed that.
Yeah, there's some other ongoing stuff. I'm hoping they'll be,
Golf course.
yeah, I'm hoping they'll be able to come in soon.
Okay, great, appreciate it.
Can I get a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All set, thank you.